friends, Laura A. Grace here, the author of Dear Author, Letters from a Bookish Fangirl, and Team Lines of Poetry Collection, and Gathering Faith, my upcoming manga, which should be releasing this spring. Welcome back to another Friday of manga recommendations. I am so excited that you're here. I'm so excited to be sharing this manga because interesting thing, when I first started it, I didn't think I was going to absolutely love this series, but I think Volume 2 has proved me wrong, and that series is Cutie and the Beast. That's Volume 2. This is Volume 1. I don't know when Volume 3 releases. This was a super cute series, and it is about our main girl here, Momoka, as well as Kuga. He is a professional wrestler. She is like a really big fan of his. They start chatting over basically what looks like Twitter to me. It doesn't say Twitter, but over like online, and eventually she sends him a letter and they meet up at one of his signings, I think it was, or they meet up anyway, and they sort of hit it off, and they keep talking. And that is the premise so far of our manga here. Now, I just want to give like a disclaimer. This is an age gap romance, and I have some thoughts on that. I think it's a big thing in the manga community with age gap romance. I typically don't read it, or I should say, this is my first one, I should say it depends on the age. Now, Momoka is 18 and Kuga is 30, almost 30. There's an 11-year age gap difference. I know that. One of the things though, going in to Volume 1 is I knew it was an age gap romance. I didn't have a big problem with it because when I met my husband, I was 17 and he was 24. So we have a 7 age gap difference. But I guess maybe that's a little bit more socially acceptable because he is younger and he's not older. But I feel like in Japan, age gap differences are not a huge thing. I don't know, maybe that's just my perception of it because there's quite a few age gap like manga that are coming up in my head right now, but I haven't read them. Anyway, talking about the age gap romance, I thought this was handled really, really well done. In fact, as somebody who has experienced some of the same like reactions that Momoka has to the age gap between their relationship, I really, really related to that, like a lot, especially in the parent aspect, though we don't see as much of that in this volume, but in the next one. But I really appreciate though just how it was, how it was handled, I should say, because Kuga takes it very seriously, and when he finds out her age, that she's only 18, that she's not older like he thought she was, he really does take a step back and reflect on it. I think even Momoka has a moment of where she's thinking about it, but her reaction to all of it overall was so much myself. Like, I just saw myself in her, my younger self in that moment, and I admit I cheered her on. I agreed with her, and I really loved where she stood in the whole matter. I just thought it was extremely well handled. I guess the only thing that had me like not loving this first volume at first was just because, I don't know, I felt maybe that things were rushed a little bit fast. I think maybe. I couldn't put my finger on it. I feel like it's sort of implied that they've been chatting back and forth online, but that we don't see much of that. So I felt like when they actually did start to have this romance unfolding, that I wasn't quite fully on board with it. But it was so cute though. I must give huge props to the manga creator because it was adorable. Like, this was a very clean manga. I think there's only like one cuss word in here, but it was just so clean. I love Kuga's friends. I love just the cute little awkwardness between them of wanting to take things a step further and become romantically involved. And he is so respectful of her. And it is really interesting, I will say, seeing a main hero this buff. Like, yes, we have manga heroes, they're guys that are buff, but not like professional wrestling kind of buff. So that was really interesting because when he is in his matches, I don't believe he wears a shirt. I'm trying to think of where there's a scene where we could see it here. Yes, right here at the opening. So he doesn't wear a shirt. It's really interesting seeing this huge muscular guy, but his personality is so adorable. And I love his interactions with his friends, especially because of how professionally they are presented to society. Plays an interesting role in his friendships and in just the story itself. I'm not sure if that made sense, but I try to keep that spoiler free there. But I liked how that was done, and it was just fun because not everything is as it seems. And I really loved how things were resolved by the end. Like, a lot. That was so well done. Even though I was sort of like, I'm not sure if I'm ready for this. I like the direction that it was going. But then let's go into volume 2. And I will definitely try and keep it spoiler free. I loved this volume. Like, I was completely sold with this volume for this series. It was so good. Like, just so really, really good. Like, I don't even know what to say. But if you know how book 1 ends, it kicks off right where this one begins. And this one, we see a lot more parental involvement in their said want-to-be romance. And the back of this cover is very cute, by the way. And part of why I wanted to say that I feel like this series deserves some love, I feel like this series should be supported, is because here we have Momoka, who is very close to her family. I forgot to mention that in volume 1, I loved her relationship with her sister a lot. Like, so much. Like, that was one of my favorite parts. And I just needed to mention that because it comes, like, you see more of that sisterly relationship in this volume, but also just with her family. And Momoka, her parents know at this point that she wants to date Kuga, and the involvement of the parents is just amazing. And I absolutely love how Momoka is persistent in respecting her parents and how Kuga encourages that she, like, stand by her parents' decision. Whoa! Totally epic. Like, I don't even know how many manga that we have like that. I mean, I think of Kimi ni Todoke is the one that distinctly comes to mind, where we see the parents are involved in her life and we see they are involved in who she is dating. And we definitely have that in this volume, but I felt like it was done differently. Not saying that it wasn't handled well in Kimi ni Todoke, definitely not saying that because I fully believe it was, but this one goes definitely more in detail. And I think because you do have that age gap, that, like, seeing her respect her parents' wishes and whatnot is pretty amazing. Because, I mean, I will be honest and say that when I started dating my now husband, I did not always listen to my parents as I should have. So seeing her want to respect and her just listen to them was really awesome. And then having the dad, Momoka's dad, is absolutely hilarious and is one of the best parts of this volume. And I can't even talk about it because it's spoilers, but it is hilarious and I really love her dad, and just seeing things happen family-wise and romantic-wise was really awesome, and it was really hilarious. Like, I laughed quite a bit in this volume when reading, and you get some interesting backstory about our main guy. And I read a few reviews concerning that mentioned why they felt the mangaka included that backstory. I didn't have an issue with it. I mean, it wasn't inappropriate or anything like that. And you definitely get his reasoning of why he wants to date her, and he clearly makes that known to Momoka's father. I definitely feel like it made me a lot more interested in their romance because I felt like just everything is handled so beautifully and there's so much respect for one another in their relationship that I just absolutely love. Like, I feel it is such a positive thing to show to younger readers, to have boundaries in place. And I guess maybe that is why I love it, because while we see that interest sparking in volume 1 and we see, like, hey, that they want to have a romance, they want to be in a relationship, in volume 2 you see, okay, they're still wanting this relationship, they're still wanting to be, together despite of what their Momoka's parents are saying, but they're like, we're going to respect their wishes and we're just going to lay boundaries in place. Like, that is not something you see often in manga. Like, I cannot think off the top of my head of many manga that even have that. And so I feel like, thinking back to a younger me, I just feel like this would have a really high impact on me, especially coming from a Christian background where there is strong encouragement to have boundaries and celibacy and whatnot. And I am excitedly nervous to see where things go in Volume 3. Considering how things were handled in Volume 2, I think things are just going to be really, really good in Volume 3. And I'm hoping that everything I just shared, I won't be like, okay, I'm taking that back. I really hope not. But I just love this volume. I'm really excited to see where this series goes, and I just hope that Kuga continues to be really respectful, and that we just continue to have this really sweet romance. I mean, it's called Cutie and the Beast, and it definitely, hands down, lives up to its title like perfectly. I think that was just such a very well done, perfectly chosen title for this series. And I just want to mention the art was so beautiful. I really like the art. Like, I feel like it's different, but here's a really good page. This is another cute page. But the art is really beautiful. I feel like even though some of it seems, I wouldn't say more simplistic or anything like that, but I feel like there's a different style to this artwork that really, really fits the playful tone and just the new love kind of experience for this manga. I don't know exactly what kind of like tone that is. I just realized like art wise, but I don't know. I just feel like it really it just fits it. I mean, it just has this really cute style that I really, really enjoyed in this manga a lot. And I was just totally sucked in. I didn't feel like any of the art was sort of like weird or made things hard to just understand. And the action scenes were really good, especially in this one. I mean, you don't get a bunch of like action scenes drawn out, but the ones that were there were really, really good. I thought that the mangaka did an excellent job with that. And I loved how I could clearly see the sense of movement and the direction of like, say, where body parts were going and such, because sometimes I personally struggled with that in manga for whatever reason, but this one was handled really well. This one, Volume 2, has a great action scene that I loved, and that was done really, really well. I loved how we could see the expressions of everybody and such like that. Can't say much there because spoilers, but the action scenes were really well done, and of course then just our cute romance scenes were fabulous. So I think there are a lot of good things about this series. Yes, it has an age gap, but it is handled so discreetly and so well. There is a lot of respect and boundaries there, and I am just really thrilled to see where this goes. I'm really excited for book 3. I don't know when it's supposed to release, but I love the cover of it, and I'm hoping just good things are in store for these guys, because I think they're just gonna have a really sweet romance that just continues to be like a slow burn kind of thing. Let me know if you have read Cutie and the Beast, or what, if you haven't read it, what are some of your favorite kind of shoujo heroes? Like, do you like big burly guys like this, or do you prefer other kinds of guys? I don't know. Or just what are some of your favorite age gap manga? I would love to hear from you, friends. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and thanks so much for watching. Bye!